5 first-team players are out of contract at the end of June for West Ham United. In this video, I'm going to be discussing whether I think we should give them a contract extension, maybe a new contract, or whether I think it's time for them to leave the club. And whether now, coming off the back of that, whether we do need yet again another summer rebuild. And as well, could AYEW be plotting a return to West Ham United at 33 years of age? That is all coming up on today's video right here on West Ham Unofficial. Now, the 5 first-team players that are out of contract at the end of the season are as follows: Lucas Fabianski, Angelo Ogbonna, Aaron Creswell, Manuel Lanzini and Vladimir Coufal. They're all players that will leave the club if nothing changes from now and June the 30th. So I'm going to run through all the players, whether I think they should stay or go, and what I think we should do in terms of their contract status right here at West Ham. And then obviously coming off the back of that, and overall, do I think we need a summer rebuild? Spoiler, yes, I do. Starting off in goal is Lucas Fabianski. Now, we could be dismissive of the fact is that we should hope and expect Alphonso Areola to take over the #1 goalkeeper reins at some point. We don't know when, but you still can't deny the fact that Lucas Fabianski is still our #1 goalkeeper. He's still quite a big part of that team because he's in it week in, week out without fail. So, and he's keeping somehow Alphonso Areola out of this 11. I think that's more Moyes than anything else. But, you still can't look past that. And for our current starting #1 goalkeeper to be out of contract at the end of the season, I think speaks volumes, because the fact is that if we were going to do it, we probably would have done it by now. So I would be inclined to say we're probably just going to mutually agree, to end his time at West Ham on June the 30th when the season ends. So, or there might be a season, a season longer contract extension on that, which we haven't been made aware of yet. I don't know. So it's an interesting one, because it would imply our #1 goalkeeper out of contract in the summer. There's been no rumours of a sort of extension. That would imply that we're probably going to let him go in the summer, which could finally lead the path through after 2 seasons for Alphonso Areola to come in and be the #1 goalkeeper. In terms of the second player, it's Angelo Ogbonna. He's been at the club since 2015. Wow, he's been here a long time. And he is currently 34 years of age. He's out of contract, of course, at the end of the season. And I think this is another interesting one because he's a very big part of what we're doing at the moment. He's one of our 2 fit, identifiable centre-backs currently, alongside Nerfagerd, of course, with Kurt Zouma out injured. So he's currently playing a big role in our team, again, week in, week out in that first team. This is the worrying thing about it. A few of these players are currently playing week in, week out, and they're out of contract at the end of the season. It's a little bit worrying. It's a little bit weird for me as well. I'm going to discuss that just in a second. But player by player, Angelo Ogbonna, in my opinion, I think we should give him a contract extension of just 1 season. Lucas Fabianski is 37, Angelo Ogbonna is 34 years old. I'm not denying that fact, but I still think he's got something to offer to West Ham. I think he's really looked, not back to his best, but he's looked somewhere back to his best over the last few games. I think he's looked composed. He's the sort of player we lost a couple of years ago when he got that ACL injury. So at the moment, and especially with the situation we're in, he really is needed, and I think we should give him a contract extension of a year. Now, next up is Aaron Creswell, who's out of contract in the summer. He's joined the club in 2014. Wow. He's been here a long time as well, and all good things have got to come to an end. And yeah, that's my view with this one. I'm afraid, he's been a good servant to the club, but his day's done in terms of the Premier League football, in my opinion. In terms of Aaron Creswell, he's just getting outrun. He can't play in a back 4. I still don't think he can be overly trusted in that sort of left centre back position. Push comes to shove, I think he'll play there, and I think he'll do an okay job. But I'm just not fully confident in him doing a very good job in sort of that position there as well. Of course, the left back position, we know he's been found out in. He has been for a couple of years. He's sort of handled with it quite well, but it's re-emerged this season, and he really has not had the best of times. Obviously, coming off the back of a disappointing European run for him where he got himself sent off a couple of times. And yeah, it just wasn't great for him. And I think the time for him now is to move on, maybe go to one of his last clubs and leave West Ham after a very good stint and a good servant to the club as well. The next name is Manuel Lanzini, of course, who's not really currently part of the first team, the first team week in, week out. And I think it's one where a lot of West Ham fans expected us to let him go in this window. Off to Argentina somewhere, River Plate, or pay £5 million. That didn't happen in the end in this January transfer window, which leaves we're probably going to let him go as a free agent. I can't see West Ham giving him a contract extension, if I'm honest, which now means we're going to let him go for nothing. So if there was any interest in him in January, I think we should have snapped it up and took it. But that might imply that there could be something happening there and he might get a contract extension of a year. I wouldn't really be in favour of that. I think his time at West Ham has been done. I think it's time for him to move on now, in my opinion. Put yours in the comment section down below. He's been here since 2016 as well. So in my opinion, it's time for Manuel Lanzini to move on. He's been a great servant to the club, don't get me wrong. But as I said, all good things have got to come to an end. And the last player is Vladimir Coufal, who joined us, compared to the other players fairly recently in 2020, of course. £5 million. We had no idea who he was. And he had a couple of absolutely amazing seasons down there on the right-hand side for West Ham. Don't get me wrong, in the last sort of this season and half of last season, he hasn't hit the heights that he did in his first sort of period at West Ham. And that goes the same with Thomas Souček, who's only got another year on top of that. But I just don't think he's quite hit those heights. Do I think we should give him a contract extension? Possibly, yeah. 30 years of old, he's 30 years of age. He's still got some time left in him. And I don't think he's been the worst player in the world this year. He hasn't been as good, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's been the worst player this year. And I think he's still got a bit to give for West Ham. We did only pay £5 million for him, and we're not going to get much more than that back. So I don't see why we don't try and get another year or two out of him. So in my opinion, I'd look to give Coufal a contract extension. So those are the 5 players: Fabianski, Ogbonna, Creswell, Lanzini, Coufal, who are out of contract. And this poses the question now: do we need a summer rebuild? Now, we had a big summer rebuild, that's sort of undeniable, in the summer, where we brought in those 8 players and it was all looking good. Everyone was happy. Everyone was excited of the prospect of what this season was going to bring. And, we're not lying when it's been an absolute nightmare, hasn't it? We've been, atrocious for the majority of the season. It hasn't worked. And this is where I fear letting go, at least 5 players if this is like that, and then letting go maybe a few others as well. That could leave us with, letting go 6 or 7 players from this squad, which then means we're going to have to sign 6 or 7 players again, which poses the same issue we've had this time round. We've signed too many players. They all don't know each other. They all don't know how to play together. Playing in the wrong system, it's just going to pose the same questions, without any answers that we've had this season. So that's sort of what worries me a little bit about it. I don't know why we just don't pin some of these down to a contract extension. As I said, in my opinion, I'd get Ogbonna and Coufal at the very least down to a contract. Maybe Lanzini, but I'm a little bit undecided on that. And obviously, the big news is probably going to let Declan Rice go. So that's going to add another one to that. And there's a few others whose names gone out there we might let go. So we could all of a sudden be letting go a hell of a lot of players. And of course, we've got to get them back in. So that's, that's sort of worrying me a little bit with the summer rebuild. And yeah, David Moyes, if he's still manager, has got to contend with that on the board. And they've got to try and come up with a plan to make things better than what it has been this season. Now, in terms of a return to the club for Andre Ayew, of course, the transfer window slammed shut, well, quietly for West Ham, at 11 o'clock last. Now, we didn't do any business on deadline day. Some people were, okay, weren't too bothered. Some people were a little bit more agitated about it than others. So, of course, there's been murmurings over the last few days of West Ham signing free agent Andre Ayew, who did leave Al Sadd. It was a mutual termination of his contract, and he has flown to England. Flown to England today to have face-to-face talks with 2 Premier League clubs. Ayew is a free agent, of course, former Swansea and West Ham United striker. We do know, according to many reports, that Everton are one of those clubs that Ayew is going to talk to. But many people have sort of put out there's got to be that second club. Could that second club be West Ham? That's a Sullivan signing every day of the week, and it free agent. Been at West Ham before, aging, 33 years old. He hasn't got time on his side whatsoever. If this happened, that would scream desperation to me, and that's not where we want to go as a football club. Signing Andre Ayew as a free agent is not the way we want to go. And that's definitely, some people would have laughed at you at the end of August if you would have said we're in this situation and we're trying to get Andre Ayew back to the club. I chuckled to myself when I saw the rumour, and I'm just hoping that we don't, go through with it. There is a second club. Who that is, I don't know, but many people have put two and two together and made four and gone, this could be West Ham. We haven't had any official confirmation from sources close to home that it could be us, but people are just, going, that could be us, and desperately don't want it to be us. Would you take Andre Ayew back at West Ham? Put down in the comment section down below and your thoughts on what I've discussed today. Players out of contract and the issue of, again, another summer rebuild that could be on the cards for West Ham. Put all of that in the comment section down below. I'll reply to you and we'll have a nice chin mag about it. But that's it from me. Thank you very much. Come on, you irons, and I'll catch you soon right here on West Ham Unofficial. Thank you very much, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.